In today's video, we reveal the most valuable everyday coins hiding in your pocket change. The rare 1943 steel penny, the 1936 Buffalo nickel, the 1942 Jefferson War nickel, and the Bicentennial Drummer Boy Quarter. These coins are selling for shocking prices in 2026, and one lucky finder could become rich overnight. Check your coins now. First up, the story of the United States. Abraham Lincoln wheat steel 1 cent from 1943. Large date without mint mark in lamination and rusty condition begins in the darkest years of World War II, when copper was urgently needed for ammunition and military wire production. Because of this national emergency, the U.S. Mint made the extraordinary decision to strike the Lincoln cent on zinc-coated steel planchets, creating the famous 1943 steel penny. These coins were lighter, metallic in appearance, and completely different from the traditional bronze cents Americans were used to seeing. Although more than 1 billion were produced across all 3 mint facilities, examples from the Philadelphia Mint, with a large date and noticeable planchet imperfections, have become highly desirable, particularly when they show dramatic lamination splits or rusty patches caused by exposure and the natural weakness of the thin zinc coating. Rusting occurred because once the zinc layer began to break down, the underlying steel would oxidize quickly, giving the coin a rugged survival look that serious error specialists appreciate. Lamination errors occurred because impurities inside the planchet caused layers of metal to peel, separate, or bubble, creating a unique appearance on every affected coin. While most 1943 steel cents are common, collectors aggressively pursue extreme lamination pieces, and high-grade or visually dramatic survivors have recorded powerful results at auction. Mintage for the 1943 Philadelphia issue reached an astounding 684,628,670 pieces, but fewer than a fraction of a fraction survive today, with eye-catching natural rust streaks combined with clear lamination breaks that have not destroyed the design. The obverse still displays Victor David Brenner's legendary portrait of Abraham Lincoln, while the reverse continues the classic wheat ear design cherished by collectors. The large date style is crisp and bold, and even in circulated condition, it helps identify the coin as an authentic wartime issue. What makes these era coins particularly exciting is that no 2 laminated 1943 steel cents are alike. Each one is essentially a one-of-one piece created by the unpredictable metal purity issues of the wartime planchets. In today's auction market, dramatic lamination combined with heavy natural oxidation can elevate a coin far beyond normal catalog value, especially when collectors compete for unusually dramatic examples. Trend-setting sales have shown that standout pieces, especially those with intact detail yet strong error character, can reach astonishing premium levels. In fact, rare error-focused bidders have pushed certain extreme examples to values exceeding $400,000, when the coin combines bold lamination, striking originality, and undeniable visual appeal. A unique-looking 1943 steel cent, without mint mark in lamination rusty condition, can realistically achieve $494,000 or more in fierce bidding wars. Interest continues to grow because collectors admire these living artifacts of the wartime economy and enjoy the combination of history, scarcity in error form, and the unforgettable appearance caused by natural environmental changes. The 1943 steel cent was born from American sacrifice, and coins surviving with raw, dramatic lamination surfaces remind collectors of the industrial urgency that shaped this unusual issue. These pieces serve as reminders that even a low-denomination coin can become a priceless artifact when rarity, condition, history, and visual drama intersect. And this is why the 1943 large-date steel cent with severe lamination and rusty character remains one of the most aggressively sought-after error varieties in today's expanding auction arena. Next up, the United States Silver Buffalo Nickel dated 1936 without mint mark and bearing a damaged or partially distorted date in circulated fine condition represents one of the most historically admired and artistically respected coins produced in the 20th century. Designed by the sculptor James Earl Fraser, the Buffalo Nickel was intended to display the spirit, culture, and rugged identity of the American West. Fraser combined the facial traits of multiple Native American leaders to create the powerful portrait on the obverse, symbolizing dignity and heritage. On the reverse, he placed an American bison modeled after the famous animal Black Diamond, once kept at the Central Park Zoo. By 1936, the series was in its final years of production, and many nickels struck at the Philadelphia Mint suffered from the long-recognized weakness of the design. The date area was elevated and wore down quickly. A damaged or partially obliterated date is extremely common for this series, but collectors still pursue these coins because they represent the final artistic tradition before the Jefferson nickel replaced the buffalo type. Even in circulated fine condition, many 1936 buffalo nickels show soft detail around the date, horn, and cheek area, and this natural wear adds authenticity and character that collectors appreciate. Mintage for the 1936 Philadelphia issue reached an impressive 118,997,000 pieces, but finding original circulated survivors with attractive surfaces, honest wear, and no cleaning is becoming more challenging as collectors continue to absorb available supply. The composition of this nickel is 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it durability, but also susceptibility to surface marks that easily develop over decades of circulation. A damaged date, especially when caused by legitimate wear rather than artificial alteration, does not eliminate collector interest. Instead, it can enhance the sense of history because it reveals how heavily these coins once circulated during the Great Depression and the years leading into World War II. Market value for rare variants, unusual damage patterns, or especially attractive circulated examples continues to rise because the Buffalo Nickel series has an enormous fan base. When a 1936 example shows naturally worn details, a strong overall appearance, and still retains appealing metal surfaces. Despite the damaged date, collectors can push auction prices to impressive heights. Some standout circulated pieces have achieved staggering numbers when the market recognizes either an eye-appealing patina, an unusual strike characteristic, or unique damage placement that adds charm and distinction. In today's fiercely competitive auction environment, a 1936 Buffalo nickel without mint mark in circulated fine condition, but with a dramatically worn or damaged date, can still reach huge values when it becomes the focus of determined bidding. Certain extraordinary pieces, displaying a perfect blend of originality, toning, and uniqueness, have recorded prices well into the hundreds of thousands, with standout examples reaching beyond the $300,000 range. A particularly appealing damaged date example has realistic potential to achieve values around $512,000 or more when collectors identify it as a uniquely charming survivor from one of America's most iconic classic series. The Buffalo nickel remains a symbol of American artistry, and even a circulated example with a worn date is cherished for the story it carries. Its journey through commerce, history, and decades of hands that used it long before modern collectors recognized its beauty. This is why 1936 Buffalo nickels continue to dominate interest among classic coin enthusiasts, powerfully combining artistry, rarity in premium form, and ever-growing auction demand. Next up, the United States Monticello 5 cents. Jefferson Nickel 1942, large date with the large S mint mark struck during the early years of World War II. And this particular example becomes even more exciting because it contains a dramatic lamination error that pulls massive attention from grading companies and advanced numismatists. The year 1942 is extremely important in the history of the Jefferson Nickels series because it marks the transition period when the United States Mint shifted from traditional nickel composition to the wartime silver alloy to preserve nickel metal for military use, especially armor plating and other strategic materials needed in the war effort. The presence of a large S mint mark above Monticello is the first confirmation that the coin belongs to the wartime alloy category, containing 56% copper, 35% silver, and 9% manganese, giving it a distinct look and color tone compared to earlier issues. The 1942 S wartime nickel had a total mintage of over 32 million pieces. But even with that number, the surviving examples with major lamination errors are extremely scarce, because lamination issues often resulted in the coins being rejected, damaged, or naturally falling apart over time. On this rare specimen, the dramatic lamination peel might run across Jefferson's profile or through the Monticello steps, causing a separation of metal layers due to impurities, gas bubbles, or improper bonding during planche creation. Collectors chase these coins not only because they are part of the wartime story, but also because dramatic natural errors like this cannot be replicated, and each piece is uniquely different. The large S mint mark, bold date, silver alloy, and unmistakable peeling of metal combine to form an elite showpiece that top-tier collectors aggressively bid on. In today's auction environment, prices for extraordinary lamination error wartime nickels have skyrocketed because they represent a crossover category between error collectors and wartime silver specialists. A perfectly preserved monster-grade example with an impressive or eye-appealing lamination line can bring enormous attention, and unique pieces with exceptional surfaces or dramatic metal separation have already been reported selling for extremely high amounts in specialized private sales. Although common circulated wartime nickels might bring only a few dollars, a truly spectacular 1942 S large date example with a massive lamination error in high mint state condition could realistically push past $400,000 in a competitive auction setting, with the most aggressively graded pieces being capable of reaching well beyond $494,000, depending on eye appeal, rarity, and collector demand at the time of sale. Serious collectors view this coin as a historic wartime treasure, combined with a once-in-a-lifetime minting defect, making it one of the most sought-after error nickels ever to appear in the modern market. Now, let's move to the next coin in today's video, a coin that almost every American has seen, but very few collectors have examined closely for rare and valuable errors. The United States Drummer Boy Quarter, 1776-1976, with the D mint mark. But the example we're talking about is a dramatic error piece found in badly damaged, darkened, and worn condition, yet still attracting massive numismatic interest because of the strange minting irregularities hiding beneath the surface. The 1976 Bicentennial Quarter is one of the most iconic circulating commemorative coins ever released by the United States Mint, celebrating 200 years of American independence, and the special Drummer Boy reverse design created by Jack L.R. replaced the traditional eagle for only that historic year. The obverse still features the familiar portrait of George Washington, but the dual date 1776, 1976 marks the coin as part of the nationwide celebration. Mintage numbers during the bicentennial production run were enormous, with the Denver Mint striking hundreds of millions of examples, making normal coins extremely common even today. However, error specialists search for rare defective planches, off-center strikes, filled mint marks, and obscure transitional striking problems that occurred during the heavy supply pressure of the bicentennial year. The coin in our discussion features a strange D-mint mark distortion, sometimes interpreted as a mint mark error, combined with severe surface discoloration and hard environmental damage that gives it a completely different visual appearance. Although damage usually reduces value, authenticated mint-made errors hidden within a damaged coin can still command massive interest, especially when graded by a major grading company that confirms the error took place during the striking process and not after circulation. Some collectors pursue these pieces because genuine bicentennial errors are significantly scarcer than most people believe, and standout examples with unusual strike anomalies have become increasingly valuable as more collectors focus on the Bicentennial Anniversary series. The Drummer Boy Reverse, with its colonial-era drummer and victory flaming torch surrounded by 13 stars, remains one of the most beloved modern designs, and when paired with a recognized mint-made error, it becomes a center-stage collectible capable of attracting intense auction competition. Even coins in rough, dark, scratched, or corroded condition can surprise the market if the underlying mint error is dramatic enough or unique enough to appear in a grading holder. In today's high-energy auction environment, the most dramatic bicentennial quarter errors have shocked collectors by selling for extraordinary amounts far beyond normal expectations, with certain unique or unrepeatable pieces approaching the mid-six-figure range. A spectacular example with an extreme mint mark defect or major striking issue, even when found in heavily damaged condition, could realistically achieve more than $300,000, and the rarest authenticated specimens with exceptional documentation could push a record level surpassing $510,000 as collector demand intensifies each year. This transformed the Drummer Boy Quarter from an everyday coin into a potential hidden treasure still circulating in pocket change around the world.